What's up, everyone? I have something a bit different and a bit special for you today. It is a Motorola MW800 mobile workstation. These are for installation in automotive and even aircraft use. What it is a full 1.8 gigahertz computer. And we'll kind of go over all the options and everything that comes with it. I have a dozen of these. They are available for sale. Each unit will include a touchscreen, the CPU unit itself, and a ruggedized backlit keyboard that has a built-in touchpad. One thing about these is I do not have as many cables as I do computers, so if you decide to purchase one, you'll definitely need to purchase a cable to link the tower or the computer unit itself and the monitor together. So let's kind of take a look at the detailed specs. We'll start with the screen since we're already all powered up here. Come right around here. And so every screen is touchscreen. They work really well. Each system comes with 512 megs of RAM. I think there are a couple that may have 1 gig in them, but either way they're extremely fast. 40 gig hard drive, and it is mounted in a bit of a suspension system to absorb all of the impacts from driving down the road or anything like that. Then you have some function keys down here on the bottom. These are user assignable. You have an emergency button up here at the top. And then on the side here we have volume. There's speakers right here and here. We have brightness. And then we have like a kind of daytime nighttime feature. It does the brightness of all the buttons here on the side, and it can even power off the backlight to the display. And then up here you have your power button. The power button is linked with both the LCD and the computer unit itself, so when you hit that button it will power off the computer. So that's a basic overview of the touchscreen. Let's go ahead and take a look at the ports available to you on the back of the machine. Now both the touchscreen and the machine itself are hard aluminum chassis. The port configuration is as follows. We have 10100 Ethernet. We have USB 2.0. Now, most of the MW800 workstations only received USB 1.1, but being that this is the special 1.8 gigahertz model that was available, these are actually USB 2.0. We have a FireWire 400 port down here. We have an aux port here, and this is interesting because some of the features of this port are ignition switch sense, so if you turn your key on, the computer will automatically boot. Has vehicle speed sensor for basically the GPS or navigation system if you desire, and it has a couple of general purpose inputs and outputs that are available for use. We also have here our standard DB9 RS232 port, or serial. Up here we have a lockable main power switch. You can see it's locked in the on position. We have our wireless 802.11 wireless. Every computer is featured with wireless. Some of them have this GPS on board. Others, we actually have this GPRS modem here, which I'll get into in just a second. And then we have microphone in. We have audio out, line out. You have your standard power connector, and this is the same power connectors. You can buy them at Radio Shack. They use them on lots of different radios and mobile applications. Some computers are featured with this wireless WAN port. This is essentially a cellular network. The data connection is available to you, but we'll get into that here in just a moment. And then we have the video in here. This is BNC. This will accept any video input signal, whether it be DVD or VCR or a dashboard camera. And then down here we have our proprietary display outputs that needs this cable. I also have the pinouts and connector part numbers, so you can break this out into a standard VGA if you desire. And there's actually 2 display ports on all of these computers, so you can run 2 individual displays. I have tested it and it works beautifully. So if you're interested in a computer and 2 displays, let me know. We can definitely work something out. And that covers the port configuration on the back. Now we do have a few things on the front here that are worth mentioning. One of them is a power button, so you can hit the power on the back, which also would power on from the monitor. And then we have this door here. And in this door, it's spring-loaded, and it is removable in case you need to for anything. Way down under there, I'll zoom in. You'll see we have one Type 2 PC card slot, and then this is for the SIM card. If you have the GPRS modem on board, you would put your SIM card in there. The case is definitely water resistant. I wouldn't say waterproof, but it is hermetically sealed. It is very nice design. For example, the cooling system, the fans pull the air in here, and then these heat sinks don't go inside the case at all. They actually pass through here and out the bottom, so that's pretty cool, hermetically sealed. Here is what one of the hard drive trays looks like inside. Now the hard drive tray is actually located on the bottom of the unit, right here, and each one comes with a Windows XP Professional Certificate of Authenticity. And so inside the hard drive caddy, you initially think there is a 3.5-inch hard drive in there, but there's really not. What we have here is a super suspension system. And this allows for approximately 1 inch of travel in each direction. And what we have in each one is a 40 gigabyte, 2.5-inch laptop IDE hard drive. And then each setup has a thermocouple underneath it to monitor the hard drive temperature. So definitely very good environment for this drive to live in. I mean, even the bumpiest of dirt roads doesn't seem like it would affect this too much. So really awesome design. And then one other thing is that instead of GPS and the cellular wireless being built into these computers, the police outfit that originally had these installed decided to use these instead. Now the wireless WAN hardware that comes on board these Motorola machines is actually proprietary. They use their own communication standard, and it works with Motorola radios and this, that, and the other. It's not really practical if you just want 1 or 2 computers. And that's where these come in. This is a Sierra Wireless GPRS 750 wireless modem. And basically, any GSM network this is able to connect to. It uses like a standard car phone antenna for the cellular antenna, and then you have a GPS built into this unit as well. So that's the GPS antenna, and then you even have audio out for your voice navigation. This modem interfaces in one of 2 ways. You either have serial, so you could make this work with a microcontroller project if you wanted to, or you even have USB for the slightly higher transfer speeds. I think this is general purpose I/O here. I do have the driver's discs and manuals and connectors, and I've tested these. They all actually work. So nice little unit. I will definitely include it if you're interested in purchasing the whole package and decide that you want one. Also, while I do have these in stock, we have some mounting brackets available. These mount the computer unit itself. I do not have the bracket kits that are vehicle specific for the keyboard and touchscreen. Although if you want this installed in your car, everything included, all materials and costs, $1,000 installed, and I will fabricate a nice monitor and keyboard bracket depending on your specific vehicle. We can definitely work that in. But it does include this bracket. Go ahead and demonstrate how that sits in there. And I think it actually sits back a little bit one direction or the other. Yep, right there. Okay. So this is how it sits in this bracket with the bolt holes lined up. As you can see, they give you a little bit of buffer space on the front, so if you have a card or something you need to insert, or card sticking out, whatever flat surface you have up against here won't smack it. And it sits in here pretty good. And there isn't really shock absorbing of any kind right here, because really all that's needed for is the hard drive. And I can actually show you the internal design of one of these. You can kind of take a look and see what that looks like. And then here's a couple different mounting bracket options and styles that we have. We have just the flat plate with the 4 ends on it. We have the spiffy cast aluminum. Or we have like this bookshelf style, where essentially it mounts like at a slight angle, or not sure how that exactly would sit in the car, but it allows for vertical mounting and what have you. Oh, there you go. So just like that. And then if you have a slightly angled section to hang that from, you can do so. These computers are actually quite fast. I am really surprised. I used to have an Asus E, which is that netbook, one of the netbooks that you kind of saw a little hype over for a while. And this is much faster than that. It surfs the internet just fine, plays YouTube videos great. So let's go ahead and demonstrate that. Every system that we sell comes with a fresh load of Windows XP Professional, and we change the key to the certificate of authenticity so it matches the computer that it's installed with. We run all the Windows updates, so it's fully updated, everything you need. And then yeah, if you want antivirus or some web browser stuff installed, we can definitely throw that on there as well. So here we are pulling up a website. Let's try YouTube. YouTube's pretty media intensive. As you can see, loads really fast. Let's go ahead and try a video so you can see what that's like. We have audio through our front speakers here. And remember that you always have that line out option on the computer itself, so if you want to use this as entertainment for the rest of your stereo system, that can definitely be had as well. So as you can see, the frame rate's good. We'll do a little full screen. I kind of missed touching the right button there. So let's do a little full screen action and see what the frame rate's like. So as you can see, it's smooth, not choppy. It works really well. Definitely much better than the thin clients I've used in the past as in-car computers. Much faster.
One thing's for sure about the G4 iMac, it was anything but a...
The sound quality is actually pretty good through the tiny little factory speakers. They're, you know, like 1.5 inches by 2 inches or something like that, the grates are. So yeah, that's pretty much this computer here in the whole. This keyboard is red backlit at night. Let's see if we can demonstrate that. You can kind of see through the mouse and stuff where the mouse is illuminated, and this is actually adjustable. You hold down this function key, and then the left arrow turns the lights down, and the right arrow turns the lights up. And all the keys are backlit. There we go. So you can see it's through the letters and everything, which is really nice. I mean, these keyboards by themselves are totally awesome. I really like the mouse and the keyboard packaged in one. especially with the touch screen in Windows. Anyone who's ever used Windows on a touch screen knows you still need a mouse on occasion, because dragging your fingers in here for the scroll bar and stuff, it's not always easy. And I'll admit that the way they designed this Motorola touchscreen, the drivers and the calibration and everything, it's surprisingly usable in this tiny little, normally would use a mouse Windows interface. And in case anyone was wondering, all these keyboards are USB, and they do work on any computer. I've used them universally for testing and whatnot. Another thing is that these monitors, so let's say that you did buy this setup, okay? And you used it for a couple of years and you decided that the computer itself was too slow. Well, instead of finding a whole nother one of these setups and dealing with finding another nice rugged monitor that's as clean and crisp as these are, you can actually break these out into a standard VGA cable. As I was saying earlier, I have the pinouts, and I did purchase a connector and was successfully able to use my IBM ThinkPad as a test and added this as a second monitor output. It worked really well. One thing that I'm really excited to share with you about these computers is what one exactly looks like on the inside. Now, this is completely different than any other design I've ever seen in the thousands of computers that I've had my hands in. Motorola definitely does something special when they design their hardware. This proprietary nonsense can definitely be seen in their radios and everything else. But just the way this was designed, let's get into that. First, we'll start with what I removed out of this computer. Ended up taking the wireless antenna connector because I had a broken one that I needed to replace. And this computer didn't power on. I think it's because the hard drive caddy had the thermocouple cut, so it wasn't getting a proper temperature sensor reading. So this board sits on the back panel here. This is our auxiliary, serial, Ethernet, USB, and FireWire board. And it's all kind of contained onto one deal. And it has this proprietary connector set that it uses to interface with the motherboard. Pretty interesting. You'll see it's rubberized, so it's water resistant, waterproof. So let's take a look at the computer. Taking off the 6 screws on the top will reveal you this. You'll see our gasketed aluminum top cover. And then the motherboard inside. And we have a few connectors. Most of the headers end up right here. And then our master power input connector is right here. And then down here we have a mini PCI slot. This is where the 802.11 card would be held. And then over here we have that SIM card slot, a good top view versus what you were looking at earlier. See if we can zoom in on that. Perfect. And over here we have the shield, which is now loose in here, and this was actually for the GPS module. And then we have this bit of shielding here with this connector here. I believe this is where the wireless WAN module would sit. This one is not equipped with one. And that's pretty much the whole setup. This board here is a single board. There isn't like another board laying underneath it or anything like that. But you'll notice over here next to where the fans are in this heatsink that we have a second board. And this is where it gets interesting. When you look at this shielding right here, you'll notice that there's a connector up here. Let me see if I can get a really good zoom in on that. Okay. This bus connector actually interfaces the RAM and the CPU with the rest of the motherboard. So there's this daughter board right here, and let's see if I can get that in there. Focus. Okay, so right here is our socketed CPU. It's a mobile CPU. the 1.8 gigahertz. It's actually the same processor that's in my ThinkPad, one of my ThinkPads that I have. It's got like 3 megs of L2 cache, some ridiculous amount of cache. It is a Core Solo, but you really wouldn't know otherwise, as I kind of demonstrated to you. These things are lightning fast. And that's really pretty much it. I mean, we have our extra connectors back here for the power and the display outputs. Bring the shot back out just a little bit. And here's kind of what the backside looks like. This case is really modular. If you were wondering whether or not the RAM is upgradable, it is. There is a DDR RAM stick down underneath here, and I'm not sure of an easy way to get to this. Let me see if I can show you that memory stick where we're hidden. Nope, not really. That's okay. But yeah, the memory stick, it's down underneath here. There's the bus connector, there's the board, and then the slot sits right underneath the main board, but it's on the daughter board, very close to the processor. So very well thought out design. I really like how modular this is, where you don't necessarily have to replace the CPU and RAM if the main system board goes bad. Pretty neat, but it's definitely packed in there like an interesting game of Tetris. These are your 2 cooling fans, and the case is hermetically sealed, and the heat sinks and fans are on the outside of that. So the fans are on the outside edge, and then the heat sink is part of the case, and the processor and it even has like a little spring-loaded piece here to keep the tension against the case, but the processor actually dissipates its heat to the entire case, and the entire case is cooled with these 2 fans. So looking at the underside of the unit, there really isn't too much to be had under here other than your hard drive connector, which is right here. And what did I do with that caddy? Well, I showed you the drive and caddy earlier, so you can imagine how that sits in there. And then right here is the PC card slot that we previously saw on the front. And then your power button here. Excuse me. So that's pretty much it. That's really all there is to it. And that's a whole computer. It's a really nice piece to look at. So I hope you enjoyed this overview. They're presently for sale. I'm asking $200 for the set, and of course that doesn't include the cable. And I did find these cables online. They're readily available. They're a little on the expensive side at about $75 a piece, but you have to remember that these cables are 17 feet long upwards of, so I mean there's a lot of copper in there and whatnot. Like I was saying, if you want this installed in your vehicle, $1,000 including the price of the computer and the cost of all the materials and anything I need to fabricate. As far as the bracketry and stuff goes, I'm really good about being mindful. We don't want to drill new holes in your floorboard to mount this or anything like that. I can mount it in place of the existing seat brackets. It's just take the bolt out to the seats, fabricate an ear that goes down there and bolt the seat back in, but it goes through the bracket for the computer first. Pretty simple. So yeah, if you have a custom application that you are interested in setting up, definitely let me know. I can be reached online, Doogie Labs, DOOGIE Labs @gmail.com, and don't forget to visit our website at www.doogielabs.com. I hope you enjoyed the tour. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions, by all means let me know. Thanks and have a great day.